Ever catch yourself just wanting something? I mean, not needing it, but that genuine pull, that desire.
And we're using a collection of really sharp observations as our map.
Think of this as, I guess, a fast track to understanding the hidden engines behind what we do, what we create. You know, from the everyday cravings all the way to those really profound artistic urges.
We'll explore what sparks these longings.
And maybe even shine a light on some desires you didn't even realize you had.
Right. We'll be looking at a set of these concise ideas, almost like distilled wisdom. We're calling them dynaxiom.
Kind of naxioms, okay.
And they cover, well, a lot of ground. Everything from how we approach art and creativity to our relationships with technology, even, our pursuit of wealth.
So the goal here is to really dig into the most compelling of these ideas about desire.
Exactly. And see how they actually play out in our lives.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. What is desire actually doing for us?
Well, one dynaxiom puts it really simply. Desire is a shortcut to what you really want.
A shortcut, like an instinct, an arrow pointing the way.
Sort of. That initial instinctive direction. But it gets more interesting when you look at desire and ability.
How so?
Well, we can develop skills, out of necessity. Almost automatically, it just happens. But desire acts as a catalyst. It directs our abilities towards goals that actually mean something.
So ability might exist, but desire gives it purpose.
Precisely. It's the fuel. It doesn't just spark potential. It keeps it growing, evolving with intention. It's the why behind the can.
That ties into another point, doesn't it? This idea that we often live in this imagined kind of better future.
Oh, yeah. The observation that we can become.
Yeah.
And this is a direct quote, junkies of the future.
Junkies of the future. Wow. Always chasing that next thing, that next experience.
Constantly. And what are the implications of that? I mean, this constant looking ahead.
Well, it raises a big question about the present, right?
Exactly. The dynaxiom suggests that if we're always saving, always striving for some future ideal, we might actually be sacrificing fulfillment right now.
For a utopia that might never quite arrive as we picture it.
And maybe, just maybe, a form of utopia is accessible right here in the present. It's a powerful counterpoint.
So desire, if it's only focused on the future, could kind of blind us to what's right in front of us.
It seems possible, yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk creativity. Desire seems absolutely fundamental there.
Definitely.
Take photography. The desire is clear to capture that moment, that image. But the best results often seem, well, effortless, like the intention just fades away.
That's a fascinating balance, isn't it? You have this clear desire, you want to capture something significant, but the execution needs to be relaxed, almost yielding. You're aiming, but not like forcing it.
That sounds like a lot of creative processes, actually.
Oh, I think so. And think about how our surroundings can spark creative desires.
How do you mean?
Like being surrounded by records might make you want to make music.
Or a house full of books might make you want to write one.
Exactly. It's like collecting is the first step, the initial stirring of that deeper creative urge.
So our environment subtly plants these seeds of desire.
It seems so.
Yeah.
And then, if the conditions are right, they grow into creative action. And this desire, it's not just about sensory stuff. Art becomes this tangible thing, a way to objectify that imaginative yearning. You make something lasting from just a thought.
And there's that point about artists focusing on tactility, the feel, the touch of things over just taste.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why prioritize touch?
Well, maybe it's about that primal connection to the physical world.
Could be. Even if the art is abstract, the artist is physically working with materials. Paint, clay, whatever.
It grounds the imagination, maybe?
Yeah.
Translates the inner impulse through a physical medium.
That makes sense. It's direct.
I really liked the analogy of inspiration as inhaling ideas.
Oh, yeah. That initial rush of desire. And then creation is the exhalation, a release, almost like nirvana.
It's a great image. It captures that cycle, doesn't it? The inhale, the desire, fuels the inner work.
And the exhale, the creation, is bringing it out, the release, the satisfaction.
The completion, hence nirvana.
Okay, here's a potentially trickier one. Appropriation in art. The dynaxiom suggests it can sometimes come from really deep desires, maybe even reverence for the original.
That definitely pushes back against the common view, doesn't it?
It does. How do we square that?
Well, it suggests we need to look at the motivation. The intensity of the desire driving the artist might reframe the act.
So not just taking, but engaging in a kind of dialogue, driven by admiration.
Possibly. But I mean, we absolutely have to acknowledge the ethical issues here. context and intent are crucial. It's not a simple thing.
No, definitely not. Then there's the different value we put on skill in art versus music.
Right. And how society's pace seems to make us crave the contemporary.
Why that difference, do you think? Art versus music skill. It's probably cultural shifts, maybe the nature of the mediums. Music is often immediate, emotional, ephemeral.
Performance-based.
Exactly. Maybe that values skill differently than, say, a painting that lasts and in a world changing so fast.
The new feels more relevant, more connected to us now.
That seems likely. It fuels that desire for the contemporary. It reflects our cultural moment.
Okay, let's pivot. Desire, technology, society, big topics.
Huge.
Social media, for instance. It seems to satisfy our desire for connection.
It gives that illusion, yeah.
But the observation hints that if you're constantly thirsty for that online connection, maybe it signals a deeper gap, a lack of connection in the real world.
That's a really critical point, isn't it? Quality versus quantity.
Right.
The ease of clicking like or firing off a comment can mask a lack of genuine, meaningful engagement offline.
So that constant search for validation online could just be a symptom
of a fundamental unmet need. Yeah, I think that's the warning here. A disconnect between feeling connected and actually belonging.
And what about creative spaces? We have all these virtual tools now, but the Dynaxiom suggests our ancient wiring still craves a physical space, a secluded cave or studio.
Yeah, why is that? Why the pull towards a physical room?
Maybe there's something deep in us, evolutionarily speaking, that values focus, privacy for creation.
A space that minimizes distractions allows for deeper immersion. Containment equals focus.
Perhaps. Our brains might still link seclusion with safety and deep thought.
Despite all the tech.
Interesting. This leads to the idea of the authentic self online, which is described as fairly new, but also kind of paradoxical.
Very paradoxical, especially when you factor in how malleable our minds are and how much tech influences us.
Right. The example given is Sting.
Ah, the 9/11 example. Performing Driven to Tears.
Yeah, a song with a totally different emotional weight suddenly compared to the reality he and everyone was feeling.
It perfectly highlights that tension, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Between the inner world and the outer performance. Performing versus genuinely feeling.
Especially online, where we curate ourselves so much.
Exactly. The internet as this platform for an authentic self. It raises huge questions. How is that self built? How real is it? How much is it just reacting to the tech and the audience?
And our brains adapt to that. Our sense of self keeps shifting.
That's the implication of plasticity, isn't it? The self isn't fixed. It's constantly being shaped by these interactions.
So trying to feel authentic is...
Well, it's a struggle.
A balancing act, yeah. Between the superego, our inner compass, and the ego, the self we project, reflecting our desires. And knowing it's all fluid, nothing's fixed for long.
What are the takeaways from that fluidity, that constant change?
Well, it's a constant negotiation, isn't it, between inner values and outer actions. Recognizing that fluidity can be freeing, we can change.
But also challenging. Authenticity isn't a destination you arrive at.
It's more like a continuous process, aligning the inner and outer, again and again.
There's another really sharp observation about language. When we say, their heart isn't in something.
It suggests it might not be a lack of desire, but an acquired aversion.
That really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About pushing people.
What exactly is an acquired aversion? Can you unpack that?
Sure. It's when maybe you started out neutral or even liked something, but because of bad experiences, maybe pressure, frustration, criticism, you develop a strong dislike, an aversion to it.
Like maybe enjoying piano as a kid, but forced lessons made you hate it.
Exactly like that.
Oh, yeah.
So seeing someone unenthusiastic, it might not be a fundamental lack of desire. It could be a learned response. It's a crucial distinction.
Right. Let's circle back to the physical world. Simple desires. Eating.
Ah, yes. The pleasure of eating.
Just that immediate satisfaction of a biological urge, a primal desire fulfilled.
A really clear universal example. Need, desire, sensory pleasure, reward. Boom.
And then desire paths. I love this concept.
Me too. Those unofficial trails people cut across parks or campuses.
Yeah. Taking the shortcut. It's such a visible sign of wanting a more direct route, wanting freedom from the paved path.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the parallel in the digital world, Messier curves.
Right. Smoothing out the jagged edges, making a more direct, flowing line.
It's the same impulse, isn't it? To forge your own way, find the most efficient or natural path. Agency and optimization.
Whether it's walking across grass or drawing a line on a screen.
It's that fundamental desire to make a path.
It's also mentioned that desire feeds on itself. It's self-perpetuating.
Wanting more seems to lead to wanting more.
Yeah. What's the mechanism there? Is it the brain's reward system?
That seems likely. You achieve something you desired, you get that dopamine hit, that satisfaction.
And that makes you want to seek it again or seek other rewards.
Yeah, it reinforces the seeking behavior. Success breeds ambition in a way. It creates a cycle.
And closely related, desire cultivates talent.
Absolutely. That initial wanting provides the drive.
The motivation, the focus, the sheer effort needed to get good at something.
It transforms potential into actual skill. Desire is the engine for mastery.
Okay, here's one that gives you pause. What we pay attention to might often be driven by a phantom desire for attention. We focus on what we think others value, just to get noticed.
Ooh, that's uncomfortable. A phantom desire.
What happens if our attention is mostly driven by that?
Well, it suggests our focus, maybe even our life's pursuits, aren't really aligned with our own desires.
But with what we think gets us external validation.
Right. And if you're always chasing that phantom, you risk investing time and energy in things that don't truly fulfill you. Leads to inauthenticity, maybe?
Raises big questions about where our motivations actually come from.
Definitely.
And here's a counterintuitive one. Sometimes being isolated, being on a lonely road, can actually lead to a desire for more solitude.
That seems backwards, doesn't it? Human desire is complex. Maybe after a long stretch of isolation, the need for connection kind of recedes for a bit.
And you start valuing the peace, the autonomy.
Perhaps. Like our internal balance just shifts based on circumstances. It's strange, but relatable somehow.
Okay, finally, let's talk desire and wealth.
Always a big one.
Often seen as the path to freedom, self-actualization.
It's a standard narrative.
But this dynaxiom challenges that simple equation. Freedom, wealth, security, achieved by just saving relentlessly.
Yeah, it points out the trade-off. Are you sacrificing the present moment?
For a future that might not even happen, or not as you imagine.
Exactly. It questions whether that relentless pursuit of future security comes at the cost of present joy. Is that equation really serving our well-being?
And it suggests fulfillment. Maybe that utopia could be found now.
It encourages a serious reevaluation of our priorities around money and time.
And just one last, really speculative thought experiment from the dynaxioms. What if we could teach animals to create art? What would happen? Could it spark language? Self-awareness, a way for them to express their desires, even spiritual ones?
That opens up, well, everything. Questions about consciousness, communication, desire across species.
Imagine the stories they could tell through art.
If animals could express their inner worlds visually or creatively, it would completely change our understanding of them. We might see desires we can't even guess at now.
It's a profound thought about what expression and self-awareness really are.
Truly profound.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into desire, wow, we've covered a lot.
They really have.
Its role in driving action, shaping creativity, both physical and imaginative.
Its complex dance with technology, society, our own sense of self.
We looked at some really potent dynaxioms, like desire as that shortcut, or the risk of becoming junkies of the future.
And we explored that interplay between desire and ability, how our environment shapes longing, and just how complex and contradictory our wants can be.
Yeah, sometimes downright contradictory.
Definitely.
So considering all these different facets of desire, maybe ask yourself, what's one quiet desire within you that this conversation might have stirred up?
Or perhaps what desire path are you maybe forging in your own life right now? Consciously, or maybe without even realizing it?